What's going on, Jerome? It's a beautiful Tuesday. Birds are chirping and stuff. It's time for another Vikings news dump. He sees you when you're pooping. So, we are 16 days away from the 2025 edition of the NFL Draft, and historically, 3 Vikings have been drafted number 16 overall. First one, 1963, linebacker Bobby Bell, star for the Gophers, and interesting one because this is when the NFL and the AFL were still separate before the merger. Bobby Bell, second round pick, number 16 overall, because there was only 14 teams in the NFL, and he went with the Chiefs. That's what it is. And he went on to a Hall of Fame career, allegedly beat the Vikings in Super Bowl IV, allegedly. So, I don't know. You could chalk it up. Hey, the Vikings drafted a Hall of Famer. 1979, fullback Ted Boom Boom Brown out of NC State. Go Wolfpack. And Ted Brown's great, man. Like, obviously before my time, but dude kicked ass. 8 years, 4,546 rushing yards, 53 total touchdowns. He was a complete running back, fullback, could run, could block, could catch, could do everything. Like Ted Brown's awesome, man. I love it. 1996, Dwayne Clemens out of Cal. So there was a stretch where the Vikings were just consistently taking linemen. Dwayne Clemens, Derek Alexander, etc. Some didn't work out. Some did. Now, Clemens actually had himself a very solid career. 4 years with the Vikings, 18 and a half sacks, and then went on to have success with Kansas City and then Cincinnati. So he had a nice career. A lot of it wasn't here, so it just sort of is what it is, right? So, there's that 16. Again, Ted Brown. Let's go, man. Let's go. Also, let's go. April draft month fundraiser. All Venmos, Cash Apps, Super Chats donated this month. Will go to Twin Cities and Seoul, South Korean adoption charities and support organizations. We already said our story. We're adopted. That's me. Super cute. We're in the Herbeck shirt. It's good times back then. Oh, also, I wonder what pretty sure this is my birthday, right? Makes sense. I don't know why I'm so dismayed. Ay Dios mío. But yeah, it's something that very near and dear to my heart, and there needs to be more ease with connections. There needs to be more support, and there's lots of kids that are looking to be adopted. There's lots of families that want to grow. So yeah, it's all for good. And thank you very much for the donation so far. Jerome's really paying it forward. The goal for the month was initially 2,500. We're gonna have to up that up because we're at about 12 and a quarter right now. So we'll keep growing and showing from there. And again, thank you very much in advance. Also, Vikings. So the Vikings don't have any roster restraints right now because they got 67 players, well, 66 now on the 90-man rooster, but they have released cornerback Wright. Now, Wright came over from Dallas in the Andrew Booth Jr. trade, and Wright was on the practice squad throughout most of last season. But I think it's a spot where maybe Wright saw the writing on the wall, pun intended, and decides, like, hey, let me go catch on with another 90-man roster where I have a chance to make some noise, whether it's making the team, whether it's making the practice squad. And, the Vikings right now, in a weird way, I like where the Vikings cornerback room is. Yeah, Murph, Rodgers, Nudie, Blackman, Akuda, Tavier Thomas, etc. Also, could this be a spot where the Vikings obviously had interest in Jack Jones when he was released by the Patriots to put in a waiver claim. They didn't get him. Do they just sign him as a free agent now? And I understand there's character concerns. Why does he get being booted despite being extremely talented? But I think that the whole notion of a locker room cancer, I think that if you have enough veteran leadership around that ain't going to put up with any ish, I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think that it could work out. So we'll see. Either way, best luck to Wright. Catch on somewhere else. There you go. Also, man, so I remember in the draft, back in the day, when it was 2 days, because it was rounds 1, 2, 3 on Saturday, 4, 5, 6, 7 on Sunday. We used to be a proper country. Because I just remember as a kid, just like watching picks roll on. I remember too when Kevin Garnett was drafted by the Wolves in the 95. Yeah. And my dad was pissing and moaning, oh, they drafted some kid out of high school. How's he going to play the game? It's good times. But Daunte, Culpepper, get your roll on, baby. In that 1999 draft class that had Tim Couch at 1 to the rebirthed Browns. You had Donovan McNabb 2 to the Eagles. Achilles Smith to the Bengals. Daunte at 11. You had Cade McNown in that mix too. And Daunte was great, man. So I've talked about my Randy Moss story. Like, he was the first player I watched in college or saw the highlights and saw the magazine clippings. I want that guy on my team. Daunte was sort of like that too, because Daunte was putting up huge numbers at UCF, Central Florida, and it was always like grainy highlight footage too. So it was kind of like the Loch Ness Monster or Sasquatch. You're like, oh, there's a quarterback that's the size of a defensive end that can just sling it. He's got small hands though. But overall, like Daunte, I mean, he had some great years with the Vikings. Got him with that first round pick that the Vikings got from Washington after trading Brad Johnson. Brad Johnson got traded to Washington and Norv for a 1, 2, and a 3. Can you imagine that? Brad Johnson trade 1, 2, 3. Come on, man. Come on. Also, leading into the draft. So the Vikings, as of right now, here's reportedly the top 30 visits. Harmon and Ravel will be meeting with them at some point this week. But overall, like a lot of, they're really stacking up day 2 tackles that could kick inside to guard. Also, a couple tight ends. That seems to be a priority, as well as we said this yesterday. But I like the scatter shot that Kwesi does for these 30 visits. A lot of day 3, a lot of borderline draftable UDFA guys getting that groundwork done early, and especially when you don't have a ton of draft picks, UDFAs are going to be huge this time around. So the Vikings doing their diligence there. Also, planting a seed. It's like, hey, I was undrafted, but I went and visited Minnesota. Love their vibe, love their culture, love the facilities. I think I'll just sign there. I think that's something that the Vikings have done very well over the last 3 years. That's why they're crushed in UDFAs. Also, noteworthy, so running back, wide receiver, Brashard Smith in that mix. I love Brashard Smith, man. So formerly at the U, which is U being the U, and he's a dynamic weapon. He's a running back. He's a receiver. He's a return man. He's all that stuff, like blazing speed, and he would be an absolute ton of fun in this class. He was one of the reasons why SMU made the playoff, but I think that, so the Vikings, I feel like, have done okay in terms of like the gadget type players. Like, Brashard Smith is like a smaller Percy. I think that's pretty fair. Or he's what Cordero should have been like. And the way that Bill Musgrave started using him in 2013 back in the day, yeah. But either way, Brashard Smith, I would not mind him at all in the mid rounds. Just adding just gasoline on a fire, man. Because think of how good the Vikings offense is right now. Add Brashard Smith, just as a gadgety player, as well as return some kicks. Let's go, man. Also, speaking of going, Vikings may be going to Ireland. Vikes fan page. The Vikings playing against the Steelers in Dublin, Ireland seems plausible. During the owners' meetings last week, Ben Gessling wrote via Access Vikings, the Steelers will be considered the home team in this situation. So Vikings play at Pittsburgh this year in the rotation. Pittsburgh is slated to host the Dublin game. And it makes sense because former chairman of the Steelers, the late great Dan Rooney, was formerly U.S. ambassador to Ireland, so obviously that connection's there. Also, the Vikings are led by 3 great Irish Americans, where you got Kevin O'Connell, you have J.J. McCarthy, and you have Byron Murphy. So it all makes sense. Yeah. So Aaron Gabra, Sláinte. Yeah. Speaking of which, if we want to make these storylines deep, what if Aaron Rodgers signs with the Steelers, and then we go across the pond to whoop his ass just like we did when he was on the Jets last year? Purple Persuasion, quote, the rap sheet talking on NFL Network, quote, the Vikings were very clear that Aaron Rodgers, as of right now, is not an option for them. I love how they just have to put in the qualifier, as of right now. If a meteor hits Earth and only takes out the good quarterbacks, Rodgers could be in for the Vikings. Yeah. They're moving full speed ahead with J.J. McCarthy. So if Aaron Rodgers is going to play football in 2025, it is going to be for the Steelers. I want it. I need it. Just Rodgers getting beat down by Flores and this defense with 1,000 shillelaghs. Come on, man. Let's go. Also, let's go. So the Vikings have set themselves up where they can go true BPA, and it may be a couple positions that people may not expect. I think tight end could be one of them. Like edge rusher may be one of them, as well as wide receiver. But I feel like wide receiver may be more of a need than people let on because Addison's going to be suspended. Rondale Moore might not be 100% for camp. Speedy's in a contract year. So, frankly, I wouldn't mind if they got value and had to stick and pick and take a great receiver. Jackson McIntyre, who does fantastic work. I have to say, Emeka Ibuka might be a major dark horse for the Minnesota Vikings. They don't have a real movable wide receiver that is a willing blocker in the run game. Kevin O'Connell is a McVay disciple. I don't know, just reading the tea leaves here, he makes a ton of sense and is an excellent fit. And that's there's a couple of things that you have to do to get on the field with Kevin O'Connell. If you're a running back, you have to pass block, and we saw that with Ty Chandler and King Kenneth and Wangu. If you can't pass block, you're not going to be out there. And for a receiver, outside of Addison, special dispensation. If you're a receiver, though, you have to be able to run block. You have to get after it there. And Ibuka certainly is that. Plus, I do think that the comps with his former teammate Jackson Smith and Jigba are certainly there. And overall, like he's had 3 years of starting experience and just has done great things. Working out of the slot, working multiple quarterbacks, and I think that Ibuka would be great in purple. Like it's an unorthodox at this point, and I know people will bitch and moan, "Oh, we need safety," or da, 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 da. Hey, best player available. BPA. If you draft for need, you keep drafting for need. Right, just get dudes in here, and the coaches will figure it out. Right. Also, speaking of a good dude, Sendejo, make football violent again. Like low key, one of my favorite Vikings, just because he did not give an F, and he played with reckless abandon. He was one of those players that we talk about would play for $10 and a ham sandwich. There you go. Also, he went to Rice University, so I'm predisposed to like him. He tweeted this out, or Instagram this out. In honor of Julio Jones retiring, here's a video of him murdering me. So nice little crackback block. Sendejo got earholed. It wasn't as dirty. I mean, it was straightforward. I mean, he hit him in the chest, but it wasn't as dirty as the Michael Thomas ear-holing of Sendejo in the Minneapolis Miracle game. Sendejo's never quite right after that hit. I'll stand on business there. And also, he continued. I told him he was a biatch. Which you'll see that too. Like you'll see tough guys in the league. If they get rocked, if they get decleated, they get hammered, they pop up right away and are talking ish, because it's almost like just a reflexive response. It's like you did not hurt me. You are a B. That was a Dr. Seuss rhyme. Anyways, like I love Sendejo. I love Julio Jones, too. He was fantastic back in the day. But that's it. That's at Vikings News done for this beautiful Tuesday. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skol. Production value.